What is up, everyone? Glad you're here. I just wanted to take a second to address something. I don't really like watching shop tours personally because I feel like people are just showing off what they have, and when you're just getting started, that can be daunting or discouraging, thinking that, oh, the reason why they got to the level that they're at is because they have all these tools, they have all this money to buy this stuff. I don't have the means to do that, so I'm never going to be able to get to this level. This is all just from my hard work that I've done starting out as an electrician. I was a vending machine driver. When I first started working, I worked at Little Caesars Pizza. So there's no excuses. Work hard, put in the hours, put in the time, and pay your dues. And you can definitely get to this level. I think I'm like 8 to 10 years in to buying tools. So this isn't something that I went out and bought overnight, right? Like I worked my way up to this, and I didn't have help from anyone at all financially. I just want you to consider that when you're doing this walkthrough of my shop, because wherever you're at, making $15 an hour, whatever it is that you're doing, if you're really dedicated to this and you are in it for the long haul, just keep at it. Like, you're gonna get there. So I just wanted to kind of have a moment to encourage you. Like, don't be discouraged by looking at my shop. Be encouraged that with hard work, putting in the time, putting in the effort, paying your dues, you can definitely get here. You just have, there's just a lot of hours tied up into it, right? You're like, instead of going out and hanging out with friends, I'm in the shop working. And that's how it's been for a very, very, very long time. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this shop tour. And I hope you learned something from it. That's the main reason why I want to do it. You know, it's not a lot, but it means a lot to me to have come this far. So yeah, enjoy it. Okay, so this is my saw stop table saw. Now, in my old shop, I had a INCRA 12-inch table saw, and that thing was amazing. I love that thing. The only reason why I upgraded, the main reason why I upgraded is because when we moved into this new shop, I wanted to make sure that I had the opportunity to teach. Table saw is the most dangerous tool in the shop, so of course I wanted to upgrade and make sure that everybody was going to be safe that came to the classes. So that's the main reason why I upgraded. However, we have already had an accident in the shop. One of the guys who works here, he decided to run his finger through the table saw, and luckily we had the saw stop. The cartridge exploded, it saved his finger, and so that was a really good purchase, because if I still had the INCRA, he'd be missing a finger or two. So we got the professional 3 horsepower, 220 volt, and it's been working great for us. There is a higher, like, industrial grade version that I don't really think we're gonna need, but we'll see in the coming days. What I will say is we did have we have the overarm floating dust collection, and I think that would be really cool. I bought it, I spent a lot of money on it. I think it would be really cool if you do a lot of sheet goods. So if you are running a lot of plywood, a lot of MDF, stuff like that, that's probably gonna be worth getting for you. However, if you're like me and you do a lot of furniture and you're working with a lot of different stuff like 4/4, 8/4, 6/4, and your widths are constantly different, you're gonna have to keep adjusting that. And a lot of the times, the dust that's shooting out of the top is not going up that chute. So we removed it and we don't even use it anymore. So keep that in mind. Sorry, Saw Stop, if I affected any of your sales, but that's just my opinion. We had these Bessie clamps up here in our old shop, and now we moved them in here and we built a new one to house our taller ones. This is an old design from Mark Spagnolo, Wood Whisperer. It's one of the first things I did, probably like, I want to say like 8 years ago, something like that. I built one of these, and it's still together, and it's still incredibly useful, and it looks pretty cool. I would recommend you keeping your clamps up off the ground so you're not tripping over them. We also built another one here for our quick clamps. Also sleds, if you have any sleds that are really important to you, sleds that you've taken a long time to develop and make, something that maybe you spent a lot of time making and it's like very specialized for something that is like your signature build, then I would recommend keeping them off the ground, at least not leaning up against the wall. So keep them flat on something or put them up on the wall, because made out of wood, anything like that, even plywood, eventually that stuff's gonna move and you wanna keep that as stable as possible. So it's a great idea to take the time to make a space on your wall to put your valuable sleds up on. That's what we got here. That's for the rear legs of the Cody 3 chair, and that's for the front legs of the Cody 3 chair. Moving over here, we used to have our Capex on our Capex used to be on a mobile stand. And since we moved in here, we have the space now. We built out a miter station, and it saves a lot of space, and we also were able to pipe in the duct. I used to not use dust collection when I used the miter saw because it was too inconvenient to get everything all set up for a few miter cuts, and I don't do a lot of miter cuts. I personally use the Capex and miter saws in general for rough cuts only. As awesome as the Capex is and how capable it is and how accurate it is, it's still not accurate enough for me to really believe in what I'm gonna get from that in terms of quality of cut. So I always choose the table saw with a sled for that. So if you care about joinery and you wanna have really high-end furniture, you should not even think about using a miter saw for those kind of cuts. Your mind should go straight to the table saw and a really dialed in sled, and adjust that sled, and always check that sled for square as time goes by, because those do move as well and you need those to be perfect. So rough cuts, if I'm cutting checks off of rough sawn lumber, or if I'm cutting to rough lengths, I'll use this because it's fast, it's accurate, it's strong, lasts a long time. No issues with that, I don't have any complaints. You just have to manage your expectations of what you're gonna get from the tool that you're trying to use it for. So you shouldn't be expecting to get perfection off of this. Although maybe you would be able to. You might be able to, but I'm not gonna do it. Over here is our beautiful Tormek station, and that is all the jigs that I need for sharpening. I take very serious, why are you moving? Calm down. I take very seriously our hand tools being sharp. So this really excites me. We have Japanese wheels, we have diamond wheels, we have all the jigs we need for turning tools, for plane irons and for chisels, and for things like knives or marking knives or scissors or axe heads, stuff like that. It's all here. Festool sustainers are not my favorite. Unless they're individually on their own drawer that you can slide out and lift open. To me, it's such a pain to have to pull these out to get to the bottom one, and you're always shuffling around because you're in building furniture. You need all these different tools. That's why you have them, and you need to go through, like, I don't know, 4 different tools in a course of an hour, and you're constantly just shuffling through. So we put most of our sustainers outside and pulled the tools out of them and put them in cabinets. So these ones are the ones that like have accessories with them, like the trim router or the regular router or the track saw, stuff that you might need a wrench or some extra stuff for that. So that's why we have those ones in there, but the rest of our tools we put away. In our cabinet, we have the sanders are out. We don't have them in sustainers anymore because that's a pain in the ass. So all of our sanders, if we need a sander, they're all right here. Sanding pads, because if you own Festool sanders, I mean, I don't know if it's just Festool, but you have to replace the catch and loop, the hook and loop, whatever it's called, pads pretty frequently. So we have a couple extra pads and accessories up here, and other sanding accessories like the right angle thing from Festool. And here we have things like push blocks. We have some books and some router accessories, and a bunch of our router table stuff that we need, like wrenches and bits and stuff like that are in here. And let me move this again. So I'm always moving. I always check. I like to have my lights out because I do a lot of photography and video, and I use all three of my lights a lot. I like to have them out so they're always ready to go and I can really set up a scene. So in here I have all of my drills. We have some Makita, we have some DeWalt, and we have some Festool. And I also have my Rockler drill guide. This thing is amazing. So this is one of those tools that I think is inexpensive and I highly recommend. There's so many times where there's not another tool that can do what this one can. It could open up some areas of creativity for you for not a lot of money. So this is something that I would highly recommend. Rockler makes the best one by far. I've had a few other ones. Rockler's is fantastic. All right, and here I have things like my Fuller kits. So I've recommended these before. These are for cutting plugs here and countersinks. And a lot of, like, these are not created equal. A lot of these really suck and will leave you, like, you'll countersink a hole and you'll make a plug and you'll put it in there and it'll fit and you'll be like, oh cool, but there'll be a ring around it of like dark glue because the plug isn't cut perfect to that, or like the countersink moved too much and it made a bigger hole than it should have, so now your plug doesn't fit in right. So it's worth spending the money to get a Fuller kit. This is our 8-inch parallelogram Powermatic jointer. It's probably my favorite tool to use in the shop here because it's really strong. I've used some crappy ones before. This one is great. So if you're gonna buy a jointer, I would recommend at least getting an 8-inch if you can. 6-inch is you're gonna run into a lot of issues where you're gonna be having to rip things down to run them on your 6-inch. The 8-inch is gonna give you a little bit. It's going to give you a lot more versatility for running a little bit wider of a board, especially for building furniture. If you can get bigger than an 8-inch, then do that. There are some workarounds though. We'll do some other videos on that one of these days, but there are some workarounds where if you had a wider, like if I had a 10-inch wide board that I wanted to run through, but I only have an 8-inch jointer, there is a way to joint that board on here. It's just kind of a pain in the ass. So we'll talk about that in upcoming videos. Over here is an area that I like to call our brainstorm area. We take a lot of really complex, difficult jobs, and with those jobs comes a lot of collaboration, and I bring my guys into that. So we have our board here. We talk about the different options that we can do for joinery. We work through the design together, and we make a group decision on how we're going to tackle that project. So you know, that moves sometimes to different areas in the shop, but it's important to have if you're doing complex furniture. So this is our beloved La Marzocco GB5. And if you don't have one of these in your shop, I highly recommend you get one, because when your guys start to get tired after they've been working an 8-hour shift and you really need them to put in that 16 hours, they're gonna need a little pick-me-up. You gotta have espresso ready to go so you can keep going. We got work to do. You know, we got to put in that 16 hours if we want to get anywhere in this world, because it's really hard to make it anywhere in the furniture making business. I'm just kidding. So the reason why we have this crazy ass machine, Jared and I had this vision when we started the company of we wanted to be able to pop up anywhere. Today we're popping up in the middle of the desert or at this mountain or in this parking lot and come hang out. And it's not us trying to sell anything, we're just trying to engage with the community and be a part of Phoenix. If you are watching this and you're not from Phoenix and you're doing something similar, I think it's really important that you become a part of your city and what your city is doing. So that's why we had an event last night. It was a makers meetup, because it's important for us to be able to engage with other people who are involved in this and be surrounded by them and help prop them up and help lift them up. So I encourage you to be that in your city. And that's what we wanted to do with this. We wanted to bring out the workbench, bring out the coffee cart, bring out some furniture, and then just make lattes and have people come out and just hang out and like be a part of something that's kind of creative and different and cool and unique, and it could pop up anywhere at any given time. If you can afford the T8, I highly recommend getting it, because it will make you a better woodworker, because it's so fast and so easy to sharpen your chisels and sharpen your plane blades and to sharpen your marking knives that you're gonna do it more. And if you're doing it more, your tools are sharper. If your tools are sharper, you're gonna make better cuts, All your joinery is going to fit tighter, everything's going to be better, everything's going to be more efficient. If you cannot afford this, I highly recommend getting the T4. I ran the T4 for several years before this and it was just fine for me. I just couldn't do as much as I can on this one. If you can't afford the T4, there are other options like this Lie-Nielsen guide for sharpening plane blades and chisels. Works really well. Also, you can get some lapping plates and a honing guide, and you can put a micro bevel on your chisels and you can spend less money. However, by the time you get done buying your lapping plates, your stones, and your guide, you're probably going to be really close to the same price as buying a T4. If you weigh out those options and you don't already have some of these lapping plates or guides, it's probably worth it for you to just buy the damn T4. It's going to make you so much faster, especially if you have to reshape anything. It's so much faster, which means you're going to sharpen more and everything's going to be better for you. All your joinery is going to be tighter. So not a bad option, better option, best option. Okay, so up here we just have stuff like tape, and over here we have all of our sandpaper. We have some Cubitron, we have some Mirka, we have some Festool, we have all of our application sponges, our sanding sponges. If you guys don't have any of these, they're pretty awesome, but they're freaking expensive. Yeah, so that's what we have in these guys. Down here, it's just lapping plates. And under here is, you don't need to see under there. It's private. There's private stuff under there. Don't worry about it. And here is a bunch of our soap finish and soap polish that we sell. So if you are into applying finish to light woods like maple, white oak, white ash, and you don't want them to turn yellow, you might want to check out our finishing soap. A lot of people who come to my class leave asking, hey, I want to start getting some hand tools. I really enjoyed your chair class. What should I start with? You don't need everything. You really can start out with, depending on what you're trying to do, a dovetail saw, a coping saw, a really nice square. I've talked about these before. These are made by Starrett, or I like to call them Starrett because it pisses everyone off. Really good. I call it my noisy cricket because it's so small. It's a little 4-inch double-sided combination square, I believe is what they call it. But I use this for everything. I use this for setting up my fences on my jointer, setting up my blade to square on my table saw, checking all my joints on my furniture. I use it for everything, and it's small and it fits in my apron. So I would really recommend getting something like this. If not a Starrett or a Starrett or a Noisy Cricket, then there's some other brands doing some cool stuff out there. Like Woodpeckers, I think, are really pushing the limits. I don't have a lot of their tools, but that's just because I was already committed before they started releasing all their stuff. I was already committed to Starrett, so if any of these break, I might consider picking some of those up. But for now, this is what I got, and it works really well for me. It takes such a significant amount of effort and time and money to make one of these, and when you're trying to run a shop, it never really seems like the right time to make one. So if you haven't already started taking on jobs, this might be a really good first job for you to do. Make yourself a damn workbench, because you'll thank yourself when you actually start making things for people. Having something solid that doesn't move or rack, that has clamping points everywhere so that you can hold stuff in really weird positions and cut nice joinery. So this is that. Over here are 3 toolboxes. This is Eric's personal toolbox for his personal tools. That one has all of my media in it, my media stuff. So all my camera gear, memory cards, batteries, lighting goes in here, and then administrative over there. And then we have my desk right here that runs the CNC machine. So I do design in here. I don't edit on here, but I definitely do like SketchUp or Fusion or Aspire will happen here on this computer, and then that computer runs the CNC. Yeah, so this is the Shop Saber Pro 408. I have a video specifically on this if you want to check that out. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the shop tour. I hope you learned something from it. That's the main reason why I wanted to do this, is because I wanted to have the opportunity to open up your mind and hopefully give you some ideas of something that maybe you didn't consider. If you have any questions for me, anything about this, the tools that I have, why I bought this, why I don't have that, how I like something, definitely drop a comment and I'll check it out and I'll respond to you. I respond to everybody. I try to make that a point to everybody who drops a comment. You get a response from me personally. So there's that. And also like, comment, and subscribe. I don't say that enough, but apparently, like with me trying to make this a full-time thing, I need to make sure that I'm asking you guys to do those things. So it would really help us. It would really help support us if you can drop a like, comment, subscribe, and hopefully we can keep this channel growing. And I hope you guys are ready for what's to come. Thanks a lot for watching.